Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole Magruder, and I am the Executive Director of Community Hero Action Group. Our mission is to close the gaps in health and wealth disparities within the Black community. We are here on the fourth day of the 2022 Pennsylvania Black Health Matters Conference, and today is Mental Wellness Day. And what a great way to start off this day than to talk about our mental health and social media. So I have two wonderful subject matter experts on hand this afternoon to talk all about social media and your mental health. I have here Dr. Ashley Poole and Kina Stewart, who will both introduce themselves before we start with today's session.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Nicole. My name is Dr. Ashley Poole, and I am an assistant professor in the clinical psychology department at the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. I'm also a recent 2020 grad, so PCOM proud.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's such an honor to be with you today. My name is Kina Stewart. I am actually a second-year doctoral student at Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, and I'm honored to be here today.
Thank you both in advance. And all the attendees out there, hey, if you want to ask a question, be sure to place it in the chat. Even if you're watching it on Facebook or on YouTube, feel free to submit your questions. We will still receive them. And there'll be some time at the end of today's session for any live Q&A. All right, so we will go ahead and start with the session now.
So I'm going to start the slide. All right, so greetings, everyone. Today's topic is social media and mental health, presented by myself, Ashley Poole, PsyD, LPC, and Ms. Kina Stewart, MS.
By way of agenda, first we're going to have the introduction of our speakers. Then we'll discuss popular social media platforms and trends in usage. Additionally, we'll talk about how to provide an overview of social media use among adults and children, as well as discuss the negative and positive impacts of social media on mental health. And then we'll conclude with a question and answer session. My name is Kina Stewart. I am a second-year PsyD student at the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, which will be mentioned as PCOM from here on out. I have worked with adolescents and youth, as I currently do right now, as individuals who are dealing with things as ADHD, OCD, oppositional defiant disorder, conduct disorder. So I have a passion for this population. I love working with youth and young adults. I want to expand in my career and working with youth and young adults who are dealing with different traumas as well. So I look forward to being part of this presentation and speaking with you all today.
Thank you so much, Kina. My name is Dr. Ashley Poole, PsyD, LPC, and I am an assistant professor at PCOM in the clinical PsyD program. I'm also a recent graduate of the program, class of 2020, and really excited to be here today. When I was asked to do this presentation, I was really looking forward to it. And my background and expertise is primarily with the adult population. So I'll be giving you all information in regards to social media and mental health usage amongst adults. In regards to my background clinically, pain management and forensics would be the two specialties that I would consider my niches. And I would also say that couples counseling in the private practice realm. But outside of that, I definitely love doing research on social media and mental health. I actually presented at the APA conference a couple of years ago and spoke about this. So social media is something that I'm definitely a supporter of. But through today's presentation, I will share some of the things that you want to actually, be mindful of with social media use. So we'll go ahead and dive into the topic. Again, our goal today is just to provide a brief overview of some things to consider when regarding social media and your mental health. So this picture is just a bunch of different social media platforms that are commonly used. And I'll start with the definition. So the term social media refers to a computer-based technology that facilitates the sharing of ideas, thoughts, and information through virtual networks and communities. It's an internet-based software, and it gives users quick electronic communication of content, such as personal information, documents, videos, and photos. So what does all that mean? Social media is a place to go to get information and to share information. It's home of influencers, brands, bloggers, small business owners, friends, and everyone in between. So let's look at some statistics on social media usage. According to the Internet World Stats, about 4.92 billion people are connected to the internet worldwide, which is over 60% of the entire global population. That's why I thought it would be important to kind of identify what people are using social media for, because you do have some people that are on the platform that don't use it personally, but they use it specifically for their brand or to operate as an influencer. As of 2019 and 2020, the average daily social media usage of internet users worldwide amounted to 145 minutes per day, and that's up from 142 minutes in the previous year. Now, what researchers have believed contributes to this would be the increased use of mobile devices. Mobile devices are commonly the platform that's used when individuals are utilizing social media. And so it's recognized as, one of the major forces that's contributing to the use, because so many people have smartphones. And so that just makes social media usage very accessible, easy, and common. So what are the most popular social media platforms? Here you have Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Depending on which site and which time of year you check the statistics on which one is most popular, you may find some varying results. But Facebook has been considered hands down the largest social media website, with nearly 2.5 billion users monthly. Now, one thing that we found is that the usage of the platform is in some ways age dependent. When it comes to Facebook, they state that the primary audience is usually users that are over the age of 30. And so if you are a brander or a blogger, you want to consider that to be your market, although there is diversity amongst age groups. Instagram and YouTube, I found two different sites that describe them as both being ranked as number two. But in regards to Instagram, it's become one of the most popular social media platforms, mostly for teens and young adults, especially in the United States. And it just says that use of the app slowly drops off with age, but it stays consistent across both men and women regarding their usage. But it says if you are, again, looking at an age group, it's most commonly used with individuals ranging from, I believe they said the youngest is about 13 up until your 30s. And then finally, we'll discuss YouTube. So YouTube is also a very highly used social media platform. However, differing from Facebook and Instagram, YouTube is more commonly associated with being able to provide users with not only the information that the other two are able, Facebook and Instagram, but also you have access to tons of tutorials. They say Instagram is the place for individuals to go to learn everything from changing a tire to cooking a roast. So let's just go right into the pros of social media usage. Why is everyone using social media? So one thing is that it connects you quickly to your loved ones. I am a North Carolina native, and so I relocated to Pennsylvania for school. So living in Philly now and, being able to keep up with my family in North Carolina has been very useful. It's a marketing tool. The days of having to use the radio station or go on the local news to sell your idea is kind of out the window, because you can market yourself on social media and you can team up with other brand and marketers and have them market your merchandise or items that you're promoting as well. One study found that the quality of social media interactions correlates with mental health. And so what a correlation is just a relationship. So if you have good quality social media content that's popping up on your phone or whichever device you're using, then you're likely to have a more positive mental health. Using data from the US Health and Retirement Survey, a study found a positive correlation between internet use and reduced incidence of depression amongst older adults. So if we reflect on why that's true, a lot of times age can limit mobility. It can also cause you to be disconnected. And so social media is kind of like a vehicle for individuals to have access to socialization, even in the absence of being able to, physically go places. Additionally, there's groups and other, positive ways that people are connecting. And then finally, another study found that internet use and social media can improve people's level of social support, self-esteem, sense of community, and a sense of conformity and social norms. So it's kind of this idea is if, everybody's on social media, then you're up there, you kind of are fitting in with what the social norm is now. Like it's not uncommon for people to say, oh, check me out. They're not giving you their business card. They're giving you their Instagram handle or their Facebook name, as well as their psychological and physical well-being. And so I do think it's important to highlight that there are pros to social media use. And this is why so many people use it, is because it's something they can use for personal use, but also something they can use for financial gain. So let's get into some of the possible dangers of social media use. Fear of missing out. So you may have heard of FOMO culture. Social media use can lead to multitasking. So if you're on your cell phone and you're driving and you're trying to use Instagram or Facebook, or someone tells you, hey, so-and-so just posted this, check that out. That can lead to, dangerous circumstances and situations. Additionally, if you haven't heard, people can spend hours on social media, which can lead to procrastination. And also there's a lack of privacy. It's been often stated that sometimes you don't know which information you're giving away when you go to these different social media sites. Cyberbullying it does happen in adulthood, but it is more common with children and adolescents. The spread of false information, we saw a lot of this out when it came to like the COVID-19 vaccine. Since social media allows everyone to provide information to their own discretion, sometimes you do run the risk of having information that isn't accurate. And then mental illness that's linked to social media usage. So I decided to italicize FOMO culture and mental illness to elaborate a little bit more on those, since those are more commonly what people think of when they think of the potential dangers of social media use. So fear of missing out is a pervasive apprehension that others might be having rewarding experiences from which one is absent. And what we see is that if people aren't able to constantly check their social media, or the thought of not being on social media, it can lead to anxiety. And so this is where this idea of FOMO culture being something that we want individuals that have social media platforms to be mindful of their thinking patterns, and when they don't have access, how they feel and how it guides their behavior. Additionally, mental illness and social media. So I found varying information. There was absolutely studies that supported the positive well-being, as I stated previously, but this study found that an intense use of Facebook increases loneliness. And with that, like looking at individuals that now, if they can find all of their social actions on or social interactions on social media, it may decrease the likelihood that they're going to engage with people in the physical way, or if you're out on a date and you're not engaging. Additionally, in 2011, a study examined undergraduate students and reported that those having a greater number of Facebook friends experience poor emotional adjustment to college life. And again, I think that would also be relative to individuals that are able to interact with their friends via social media and really become absent from those face-to-face interactions that could also be positive. So we'll elaborate more when we get to questions. So I'll hand things over to Kina.
Now I would like to shift a bit and discuss the positive and negative impacts of social media has on our children and adolescents, as well as some of the mental health implications. So here we see this quick snapshot of some of the positive and negative impacts of these social media platforms, but here we see it viewed through the eyes of our teens. Surprisingly, approximately 25% of teens polled viewed these social media platforms as having a negative impact, while a whopping 45% of individuals or teens polled see social media as neither negative or positive. which I thought was quite interesting, but just keep in mind that trends shift from one moment to the next. But this was just an interesting screenshot or a snapshot that I wanted you guys to see. Then let's go into parenting, and let's take a little closer look at how parents perceive the impact of social media on their children and their youth and their adolescents. So this is a study by Oxier and his colleagues, where he revealed that 2/3 of parents polled identified negative impacts of technology and social media. One of the most prominent ones was this rapidly changing technology makes it very difficult for parents to keep ahead of what's going on. So parents feel like the kids are always one step ahead of them, and it creates this kind of barrier to parenting. Additionally, parents feel that their children are having more adverse responses to situations and are experiencing situations from this negative lens and viewpoint because of all the information that's coming at them through these social media platforms. Technology has also provided access and exposure to youth at a very young age, which our young people are being exposed to images and information, and they're processing all of this information on their own without a mature adult to filter through and provide perspective. And finally, we see here that there's less time spent with the family. These social media platforms are almost kind of creating this absentee youth generation where our young people are missing out on the vital years of building bonds within their family structure because they're spending so much time on social media. So in this same study, we see that only 7% of parents polled identified positive impacts of technology, only 7%. So one of the most pertinent things that stood out for parents as a positive was there's more accessibility to parenting support, such as resources and guides on parenting and on teens, as well as support groups and connections that can be made with parents who are dealing with teens or dealing with youth. So that was one of the highlights, that having that support at your fingertips was a great thing for parents. Also, being able to track children for safety purposes and communicate with them more readily. And finally, parents polled really appreciated the fact that technology has provided a way to keep children occupied, right? But not so much just to keep them busy and out of the way, but recognizing that so many of the apps now that are created are teaching tools and teaching methods that these children are not only engaging in, but they're learning while they're engaging. Now, I want us to take a look at an article by Lynn and colleagues, where he highlights the importance of parents engaging and navigating social media with added knowledge that they are able to be more savvy when it comes to these marketing tactics on social media, which allows them to be more readily able to impact the effects of social media influencers on their youth and young adults, as well as mediate the time and experience had on the social media platform. So this kind of gives parents an edge, if you will, to make them better equipped with the same information that their young people have. Now we want to look at social media and its impact on mental health. Youth and adolescents who are engaged in social media platforms often feel this restlessness when they're unable to access social media or are found excessively checking social media. And they begin to feel this kind of anxiety and this overwhelmment. In addition, right, you have these comments and likes that act as positive reinforcers for this ongoing use of these social media platforms. And at the same time, individuals can feel this fret and this fear, and our sympathetic nervous systems can go in overdrive with this anxiety about our likes and comments and what are people saying about our posts and how many people are liking them. A study by Panic and colleagues revealed that Facebook by adolescents is positively correlated with depression. Furthermore, symptoms of major depression have been found amongst individuals who spent much of their time on online platforms. We also learned that psychosocial issues such as adjustment and self-esteem become severely compromised when youth and young adults spend so much time engaging social media platforms. Young people have identified feelings of loneliness as one of the primary mental health concerns for those who spent excessive amounts of time engaging social media platforms.
So thank you so much for that, Kina, and giving insight into things that, parents' perspectives versus adolescents' perspectives, because as you all saw in Kina's graph, their adolescents are viewing their usage one way and parents are viewing it a different way. But again, to highlight Kina's point, we do see changes in trends. So questions for reflection. And just focusing on both of our discussions on how it impacts your mental health and how it can also support mental health and staying, kind of up to speed with what's going on present day. So the first question I ask you to ask yourself, if you have a social media platform or if you know someone that has one that you think might benefit from some reflection on their usage, do you feel lost or incomplete if you aren't able to access social media? And so, you really want to look at things as a spectrum. So just the presence of some loss or incompleteness doesn't necessarily mean it's problematic, but I do believe that it would be beneficial to further explore what that means. If someone has recently, shared something and they're looking for feedback or responses, they could feel like, in a rush to receive that information, and that doesn't have to necessarily be a negative thing. The second question that I would like for you all to ask yourself is, do your friends and family get concerned when they do not see you post on your social media platform? So are individuals used to you posting several times a day? And the reason I think it's important to reflect on that is because it could onset feelings of guilt if you aren't able to engage in posting. So it's good to ensure that your family and friends understand that if you aren't posting, that doesn't necessarily mean things are problematic. That way you can remove some of that guilt from yourself if you're feeling that. And then lastly, another question for reflection would be, have you deleted, archived, or hid a post because it did not get as many likes as you prefer? So Instagram recently rolled out their new update where you're able to now turn off likes so that only you are able to see the likes and individuals that come to your page aren't. Now, like I stated, if you answer yes to any of these questions, it doesn't necessarily mean that your usage is problematic as much as we just want you to continue to reflect on things. Because if you are an influencer or a blogger or you're someone that uses social media for a business, it could be important to have a certain amount of likes because, at the end of the day, it's marketing. And, individuals with most likes usually have more followers, which can also impact, how their product sells. So again, we do recommend anyone experiencing any symptoms of depression or anxiety to not use this presentation as a guide to self-diagnose, but rather to reflect on it and seek out professional mental health support if you do believe that your social media use is a problem or someone that you care about. So we do want to take this time for questions. We appreciate everyone for viewing this recording, and we will be able to answer any questions that you may have and elaborate further. Kina, if you'd like to say any closing remarks, I think we can close out after you speak.
Thank you, Dr. Poole. This was a great opportunity, and I appreciate having this platform. I look forward to hearing your questions, hearing your comments. I'm excited to engage in dialogue, and I look forward to it.
Hello, ladies, and welcome back. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. It looks like we did have one question so far in regards to the kids being one step ahead. And like, what are some things that we might not be aware of as parents that are going on? So I figure like maybe you guys are in the know and could share maybe one or two tricks or tips that all parents should be aware of.
Absolutely. Kina, you want to address that?
Yeah, I can start it out. I think a lot of this I feel like we do kind of know as parents, but I did encounter working with kids, especially I also work with kids on the spectrum, and a lot of times they're watching videos that are, say, Elmo videos, right? So it seems harmless, but what you're not realizing is if you turn the volume up or you take their headphones out, it's overdubbed with all this extremely foul language. So I think just being very mindful that not every Elmo video is an Elmo video. I think that's something important for parents to know as well. And also that our kids may be on, say, TikTok, and they're making these cutesy videos, but people are able to communicate with them through those platforms. And these are people who are worldwide. It's not just in our local communities, but worldwide, people are reaching out to them. People are pretending to be their age and communicating with them. And hey, send me another one of those videos. And these kids are thinking this is harmless. They're doing these little dances, but not realizing who they're communicating with and who is able to, hack these systems, get into this, find their addresses, find their phone numbers, and get in touch with them. So I think all of these platforms have some kind of way that young people are able to communicate with other people. And that's one of the things that's the most important and the most dangerous for our young people, because most of them think that this is really innocent, and they're not realizing that, these are predators out here and are preying on our young people.
Absolutely. You covered that very well, Ken. And I'll just add, since my work is primarily with the adults and the parents that are super concerned, is I encourage not to have all or nothing thinking. You have parents that are either like, my child is on, they get to use social media and it is what it is, or it's like no to social media because of the potential threats. But usually most devices have some sort of way that there's some parental controls where if they do go to certain sites or if there's certain activity, then you can monitor that. One thing that I recommend in staying ahead of things is really reviewing your child's history with them, on whatever device they're on, and you can tell if they've been deleting something, because usually the history will extend. Let's say you give them an hour. I believe in set structured times for social media usage or for television, for anything. And so if you are allowing your child to use it, let's say for an hour, and you notice there's 2 sites up there and everything has been deleted, then you really want to further explore that, because what we've seen is that the technology is changing so rapidly that children are usually more aware of the changes prior to the parents. So they may find ways that they can kind of like, manipulate the system, or download an app that doesn't look like an app. It looks like the dictionary, but it's something else. So really, taking an active approach, as Kina stated, to be involved is going to be super useful. Are you speaking, Nicole? Because I can't hear you. Can you hear her, Kina?
No.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, great.
awesome.
All right. I was like, very, very helpful tips. I was saying I was taking it all in as a parent, just thinking about those things that, I probably should be doing now that they're getting older. And what you mentioned, I found that every Elmo video isn't an Elmo video. And I found this with Barbie videos that
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize were talking about boyfriends and people breaking up. But if you just walk past the screen, it just looks like, Barbie. And once I was listening, I was like, wait a minute, what did she just say? And it was a conversation like high school, maybe college. And I was like, oh, no,
Yes.
we can't watch, unfortunately, like Barbie anymore, because now I don't know which ones are safe or not. So how about we don't do adventure there, putting you back on Disney Plus or something that I know is like monitor,
Absolutely.
because I can't,
Absolutely.
and if I can't be there watching, then I'm just kind of leaving it up in the air. So I guess my other question is, do you recommend any specific apps, not for kids this time, but maybe for adults, that we can kind of help regulate our own screen time? Because, everything that I've read has talked about like it's addictive, and how we can like I hit my my mark for the day, I guess I don't have any more screen time. I don't know if there's any that you recommend, or do you do that, or is it even effective?
Yes. So I will say, so I am an Apple user, and
Okay.
I know that Apple does allow you to set like your daily limits, and it gives you information to really recognize like if your screen time was up from, week to week. One thing that I recommend, so I am pro social media usage. I definitely am a pro social media usage individual. So, what I usually tell individuals is that if you can start to practice mindfulness, then that helps in all areas. And so, really, mindfulness is being in the moment. As adults, when you work, you're a parent, you have so many roles, you're always thinking about what's next. Like, I'm sure we're all thinking about what we're going to do after this presentation, what needs to be done, or what we could have did yesterday. And so, when you're more mindful, you're less likely to engage in just kind of like this mindless social media usage, because you are in the moment. You realize, wow, I've been scrolling for 30 minutes. And that's fine if you told yourself that I was going to scroll for 30 minutes. But if you really bring yourself in the moment, that's kind of like one behavioral strategy that I encourage individuals to kind of like just use themselves. It's just like self check-ins to say, what am I doing right now in the moment? Like since I'm an Apple user, I also have an Apple Watch. It tells me when I need to stand up. If I need to stand up, then that's kind of like a cue, like, wow, it's all about stimulus control. So if you can either, if you don't have any Apple products, because that's what I'm most familiar with speaking about, then what you can do is you can set like notices in your phone, or you can set times where, at 12 and 3, those are when you're going to do your self check-ins, and whatever stimulus you need to kind of like ding you to get that going, then you kind of tell yourself, okay, this is where I'm doing my check-in. What have I done today? How much time have I been on social media? Do I need to have I done enough in this amount of time that I don't need to get on my phone for social media at all again today? And then kind of like, doing those self check-ins.
Great. How would you how can we support those that are in our lives in regards to social media? I know we're in control of our own selves, and but recently, within the past few months, we've had a few high profile suicides, with the beauty pageant um, contestant, or queen, I think she actually, and
Mhm.
I know Regina King's son as well. And I know that social media played a part, at least in his. I remember reading some things on that, and it's like you always think about like, is there something that maybe we can do to help support or make sure that someone isn't in this space or unhealthy space where the usage of social media is so lopsided, or too much energy is invested, or too much validation perhaps is vested into like social media. I don't know if there are any like flags we could you know that we could use as like, oh, maybe I need to go do more, or typically that doesn't work. It's we're self-regulating, so it's nothing that we can do. Not sure.
Yeah, no, Kina, you have any thoughts on that? I can chime in as well.
Yeah, I one of the things that I thought about as you were speaking was how Instagram has now instituted where you can turn off your likes. I think that's phenomenal, and I've noticed since I've been on Instagram that a lot of people have, taken advantage of that, and I think that's a good
Please,
way for us.
please explain more, because I
So
don't.
you can turn off your likes on Instagram, so people won't see how many likes you have on a picture or a photo or
Oh,
video.
likes. Got it. Got
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So, and I think that's really important. And I think we should all set that example for the people who follow us to see that it doesn't matter, how many people like our video. We're sharing a part of ourselves, with our family, with our friends. And it doesn't matter how many people like it or dislike it, or whatever, how many people commented and all that, because all that stuff is hidden. It's just, I'm sharing this part of my journey and I want you to be a part of it. And that's the way it should be. I do think that We talk a lot about advocacy work in the mental health field, and maybe there is more work that can be done on Capitol Hill about what we are putting out on social media. More positive images, more positive, the advertisements and the things that are a part of the social media platform can be more influential towards more positive impacts, and could also put information out there for people who, hey, if you need someone to talk to, here's someone you can speak to, because I don't tend to see that stuff as I'm scrolling through. And I think that's some of the work we can do with our local legislation. We can write letters, we can lobby, we can advocate so that we can get those things going. And I do think that there's a platform for it, and I don't think it would be that hard to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. And just to add to that, so I like, Nicole, that you brought up the question, like, the suicide thing. And so I would to remind anyone or let anyone know that didn't know that suicide is absolutely preventable. One of my mentors described it and said that suicide is a permanent solution for a temporary problem. But oftentimes people that are experiencing those symptoms don't really recognize it as temporary, even if it's been happening for 6 months to a year. That's temporary. And you look at how long, life expectancy is. But in regards to that, in addition to turning off your likes, I really think it's important for us to reflect on each other about values. And what I mean by that is having in-depth conversations in which you are able to support people in going and developing relationships that also offer as much validation as social media. I mean, like, social media is a thing. It's likely not going anywhere. If anything, it's going to just become more widespread with more apps. We have, at first it started with Facebook, and you had to have a college degree to get on Facebook. Facebook now is for anyone. They have TikTok. It's so many that we probably don't even know them all. So what I encourage people to do is really, like, also look at what else this your loved one or the person you cares about, what other things do they have that validate them? Do they have a rewarding career? Are they engaging in any advocacy or volunteer opportunities? Because if social media is the only source of any type of validation, then to me, that's where it becomes super problematic. Does this person go on Facebook and post every update of every life, and they're not able to come and talk to you about it? So creating a space in which you're providing that validation or saying, hey, I think, what, you're a great public speaker. You're always posting on Facebook. How about you start speaking to the youth in your community and really looking at what their interests and values are and kind of directing them there? Because I do think that where we see the trends would be in individuals that are using social media just for all of their emotional fulfillment. So that way, when they get the likes, it's like, oh, look at me on top of the world. But then the absence of those can cause some individuals to kind of, question their self-esteem, self-worth, and could lead to symptoms of depression.
Thank you. I just want to know, do you guys have anything that you want to share with the attendees before we wind up that hasn't been spoken to already that you think needs to be uplifted?
I guess just closing, as I stated, I am a supporter of social media. It's been an outlet for me to connect with lots of individuals that are interested in, studying psychology. And I really like to kind of model for people what, like, life is like for me as someone that's educated, but also having a ball, having a lot of fun. I think we need equal representation. You don't have to be a basketball wife or a housewife or a rapper in order to, live a fulfilling, satisfying life. So I encourage everyone, if you are on social media, just be mindful of some of the things that we stated. And also, if you are experiencing any symptoms of depression or anxiety or anything similar, then don't use this presentation to diagnose yourself, but reach out to someone that's licensed that can help you. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I would also just like to add, I think just being someone who works with young people, it's very important for us as parents to, because I'm a parent myself, is to stay on top of what's going on. I know a lot of times I talk to people, I don't have time for that, or I don't have time for this. And I think that that does our children a disservice. I think we don't have to be fully engaged in these platforms that they're engaged in, but we should have some familiarity with them so that we understand what they're seeing, what they're viewing, and what they're doing. So we can be just a little step ahead of them, so that we're, they're not being overwhelmed and bombarded with information that they're just not ready to process. And we're not there to kind of walk them through it. And again, as Dr. Poole said, is if you're feeling any type of anxiety about social media, feeling overwhelmed in any kind of way, dealing with any depression, and you're letting it out on this platform, I really encourage you to seek out a licensed professional and talk to someone about it.
Thank you. Thank you both so much, Dr. Poole, Ms. Stewart. This was, again, a wealth of information that I'm sure our attendees found a lot of value in. We are recording this session, so it will be available for on-demand viewing for those who may want to rewatch it or share it with others for the duration of the conference. But it will also be on our new YouTube channel that's being launched next week, Disrupt and Build Up. So you will also be able to access it there. So make sure if you're watching it, watching this session, we will be sending out a survey at the end of the conference. So be sure to complete it, and then you'll also get the link to the new YouTube site so you can watch all these fantastic sessions that have gone on already this week. So thank you both again. And for those of you who are watching, this concludes this session. We do also want to send a special shout out to PCOM for being a sponsor of this year's Disrupt and Build Up themed conference. We appreciate the support, and it takes organizations with the vision and understanding of how important it is to uplift these important topics that are of detriment to the health and wellness of the Black community. So we'd like to be sure that that we are very, very grateful here at Community Hero Action Group. This day is not over yet. We have our Laughter is Medicine comedy show that will be starting at 5 o'clock with our 2 live comedians. And after that, we have our forum on toxic masculinity, which will be led by the social worker of the year, Chad Lassiter, along with Minute Penn, and we will be closing with a conversation about depression and suicide, moderated by Shana Rudd. So we hope to see you later on this evening for our remaining sessions. Thank you so much, and have a good afternoon, everyone. Bye-bye.